Okay, so Hotep, this is, as I indicated, my community education CE History 5652 Introduction to Egyptian Hieroglyphs class. I do this class live, so this is my dress rehearsal, but I am posting it on YouTube. I think I said Facebook last time. Okay, welcome. So now we are reading the language of the Egyptians, called Mdw Ntr. In lesson one, we began with the Netred Ma'at, and let's do a quick review of that, and then we'll move on to Netred Aset. Okay, so starting from left to right, top to bottom, we have Ma'at, Sat Ra, Hent, Tepi Hert, Taui, En, Iu, Gert. So where does Ma'at appear? Well, number one, she appears in the Book of the Dead scenes where Ma'at appears like the weighing of the feather, where the heart of the deceased is weighed against the feather of Ma'at or Ma'at. Number two, she is often in the Osirian judgment scene. She's frequently shown near or in front of Osiris, who we'll call Usir at some point. And she symbolizes the role of divine justice. The picture on the left is a representation of Ma'at on the interior of the walls of a tomb. She is at the entrance of the tomb. She is on the right and the left side. I believe this is a tomb of Ramesses VI, if I'm not mistaken. She is also a protective symbol on tombs. So in Mdw Ntr, to represent a female, we simply draw something similar to what I have on the left. And that is, in fact, transliterated with the letters ST. So a throne, a loaf of bread, and an egg, followed by a female, is transliterated with the letters AST, where the loaf of bread is again the phonetic complement. And actually, the female figure is what we would consider a determinative. This is, in fact, how we would write the name of the Netred asset. Okay, here's an image that is filled with many sacred symbols, but the female in the center, we can identify who she is because we can see her name listed right above her forehead. So some of the oldest evidence of Mdw Ntr goes as far back as what's identified as the late pre-dynastic period, or Naqada III, and that goes back about 4,000 before the Common Era, 4,000 years before the Common Era, or 6,000 years ago. So, a brief overview of the African civilizations along now begin with, well, we're going to begin with the Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom lasted from 3,200 before the Common Era to 2,100 before the Common Era, which is a total of 1,100 years. So, in that 1,100 years, we had 10 dynasties. So the leader of the first dynasty, or the representative of the Upper and Lower Egypt for Dynasty 1, is Norma, or also called Mena. And the first dynasty represents the reunification of the Upper and Lower Nile Valley civilizations. And we can see that there were 8 Nasibites during that first dynastic period. The Apis bull on the Norma palette, as this item is called, represents the living representation of the Netr Ptah, who we saw in lesson 1. The third dynasty is known as the Great Pyramid Age, and we have this pyramid here. This is actually the first pyramid built in that part of the world. This is the Step Pyramid, or the Pyramid of Nasubiti Djoser. It was built by a multi-genius named Imhotep. Imhotep later became deified by the Greeks, and he is identified as the god of medicine, and he is called Asclepius in their language. So, 4,800 years ago, we have these rulers, or I should say representatives from Ta-Nehisi, which is currently in Sudan, move down north to unify Upper and Lower Nile Valley. And they control this area that we will be calling Tamari or Kemet. So the Nasubiti had their major capital at Waset or Wa'at, and those two areas are very closely related. So we have large numbers of temples there. We can also see where Ta-Nehisi is on this map, which is now currently identified as Sudan. But the pyramids that were built further down north, and we see Giza, which is where we have the Great Pyramids, and Saqqara, where we see this first pyramid built that was built at Saqqara, and then we had temples at Memphis, which is at was one point identified as the capital. So, of the seven wonders of the world, only one exists, and that is the Great Pyramid. And actually, there are three pyramids in this area, which is a Giza Plateau. And in fact, there are approximately 118 pyramids in the area we call Egypt now, and then it's over 200 pyramids in the area that we identify as Sudan. What we see here is from left to right the pyramid of Khufu, then his son Khafra, and then his grandson Menkaura. So the Great Pyramid Age lasted for 215 years, but the fourth dynastic period took up 115 of those years. And we can see that there were, again, eight Nasubiti in the fourth dynasty. And so each of those Nasubitis built a pyramid of some sort. The pyramid of Senefru is visible, and I think Sneferu had two pyramids actually. So this is Khufu, and Khufu was the second Nasubiti of the fourth dynasty. So on this slide, there are a couple of things that I want to point out. I'll probably do more in person, but the top right hand, we can see the suit plant with a loaf of bread below it. That means this is a representative of the upper Nile Valley, and we see the B with again loaf of bread below it. That's a symbol for the representative of the lower Nile Valley, and we would identify that as the Nasut Biti. On the left, we can see part of the Shinu that is probably the Shinu of Khufu. We can see the horned viper and the Uchik, so we know that's the Fu part of Khufu. And to the left of that, we see the horned viper, the mouth, and we see this symbol that looks kind of like an X inside of a circle. That is the symbol to identify that we're talking about a nome or a city of some sort. The word they would use is nome. So we see the owl, we see the loaf of bread, and we see the symbol for nome. And in front of that is actually what is identified as a crocodile skin. So in the crocodile skin, the transliteration is KM. The owl is M, and the loaf of bread is T. So from this, we get the name Kemet. So we know that the gnome we're talking about is Kemet. Okay, so now we want to go back to how Francois was able to decode the Rosetta Stone and give us the ability to read the Mdw Ntr. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the long story of how the Greeks managed to come into Egypt and take on the title of Nasud Biti. And in fact, their titles, if you look at the Shinu on the right, they didn't use the title Nasud Biti, but they have some other title that's above the Shinu. But anyway, so in this is segment of the Rosetta Stone, and we could see a Shinu, and inside that Shinu, we actually see the name of the Nasud Biti, or the in this case, we see the scribe write this as Nasud Biti, and we see the Nasud Biti's name inscribed. That turned out to be the name of Ptolemy, one of the Greek rulers. Okay, so just a reminder, we currently use the Roman or Latin alphabet, and the Greeks use the Greek alphabet. So on the Rosetta Stone, we have at the top, we have the Mdw Ntr in sort of a block format, and then we have it in Demotic form, which is a script, and then at the very bottom, we have it in Greek. So if we can find the name Ptolemy in Greek, we can match that to the name inside of the Shinu. And that is, in fact, what Francois was able to do. And thus he was able to match other symbols with their Greek alphabet, which allows us to match them to the Roman alphabet. So here are several names that we can review now that we have Francois that helped us with these transliterations. So we have the Nasud Biti Kepa Kara, Sarah, Jehuti Mes, and then we have Nasud Biti Kepa Inra, Sarah, Nefer Ka'u Jehuti Mes, and then we have Nasud Biti. We're missing the Nasud in that one. This is Ma'at Kara, Sarah Hat Shepset Kem Amen. Okay. And we're going to return to her. She will be one of the Nasud Bitis that we'll focus on in our lessons. Okay, so let me pause and say, so the in-class lesson actually goes a little bit slower because there's a lot of questions, which is why I prefer doing in-person instruction. And I'm actually thinking seriously about doing some sort of a Zoom lesson. And if you're interested, please let me know. But this was a homework assignment, and I was asking students to do some transliteration of these names. And I will only be able to see that when I go to class. But if you have questions, you can type them in and I will respond. Okay, so the Nasud Biti that is referred to as Ramesses II, again, we saw his image in the first lesson. We want to really focus on how we say his name correctly. And so you can still call him Ramesses II, but that's more of a shortening of his correct name. So we can see on the left, we can see an image of him as a child, as a young man, and we can see that even then he has the symbol Nasud Biti in front of his name. And below that, we haven't done no symbols, but below the Nasud Biti, that is the basket without a handle, which is Neb. Then we see two tongues of land, and we transliterate that as Taui. We did see land before. And then his name is inside of the Shinu. So now inside of the Shinu, we see that also on the wristband in the center, we see the solidus, we see the symbol which is transliterated with the WRS. And so this is Urs Ma'at Ra. Urs Ma'at Ra. And then the symbol that looks like, well, it's actually something used to open the opening of the mouth, and that is a setept. Uh, it's a tool. It's a tool used in mummification, and it is transliterated STP, and then we have the N below that. So that is setept in Ra. So we have Urs Ma'at Ra, setept in Ra. And then his Sarah name. We have the reed leaf. We have the men board, which is a game board. We have the ripple of water. We have the canal, and so the canal is Mary. And then we have below that we have the solar disk, which is Ra, that is what it is, and then below that we have the three foxtails, which is messes, and then we have the folded cloth, which is again SS. So again, in class, we will identify each of these, but the transliteration is M N Amen, and then MRY Mary. So, and then below that we have MSSS messes. So we would read this as Amen Mary, Mary Amen Ra messes. So it would benefit us to practice some of these symbols, particularly the ones that we haven't done before, like the setept, the Mary, the folded cloth, and the foxtails. Also, the men board. We could practice those before moving on. So this is an image from the temple of Ursma Ra, Setepten Ra. And this is in the area that we know as Abu Simbel. And the thing that I really want to point out on here is if you look carefully, you can see the name of the gnome, and it's above the head of the man on the second to the left. We see Kemet. So in this image, we see three figures, and we can identify them based on the names that are in front of them or the images of the symbols that are above their heads. So, for instance, we have the two females, and one of the females is Aset, and the other female is her twin sister. Her twin sister is Nebet Het. Right in the center, we have a representation of Amun Ra, and we know that because we could see the solar disk is what it is, and the Netcher right above his head. So that is one representation of Amun Ra. There could be a lot of discussions about that, but we're just going to focus on the Netcherettes, and specifically on the Netcheret Aset. So hopefully you could identify which one is Netcheret Aset. Okay, so here are two more images, and both of them I'm going to argue is the representation of Netcheret Aset. Of course, the way Netcheret Aset is represented is in the eye of the artist. So we see one artist have carved it on a whatever this is, a piece of stone, and but we know that this is Aset because she has the throne on her head. And the other one is again a raised relief. And again, we could identify this as Aset because if you look at the Mdw Ntr in the first column, we can see the throne, the loaf of bread, and the egg. Okay. Okay, so now the class is going to practice writing some of these symbols and with the transliterations, and of course, because Uh, we are on YouTube. Can't do that on YouTube, but hopefully you can follow along. Again, I will suggest at some point we might want to try to do a Zoom class if you're interested. So again, another option to practice some of these symbols. Um, so If you have the wherewithal, you can do this at home. Okay, here's more practice. The transliteration for these is for the top, that's a house, that's PR. Below that is a sphere, that is A, and so that's per A, right? And then we have the Uchik, which is transliterated with either the W or the U. And then we have Ankh, which is translated with A and KH, right? So here we have the basket without a handle, which is transliterated with the letters NB. We have the dung beetle transliterated with the letters KHPR using the Roman alphabet. We have the plural strokes, which is just symbolizes plural or S in English. And I'm sorry, the transliteration is W. In the English words, we have an S to identify plural. And then we have the phonetic complements for Kepler. We have the placenta, which is KH. We have the stew, which is P, and we have the mouth, which is R. So you can have those complements to tell you that that's Kepler, or you could just have the beetle by itself, and you know that that's Kepler. Okay, so here we have the cobra, which is transliterated with the letters DJ. We have a symbol which is very similar to the symbol for Mdw, which looks like a club, but this is transliterated with the letter T. And then we have this is a bird. I forgot the specific name of this bird, but this bird is transliterated with the letters WR, and we can see the mouth below it, so we know that that R is a phonetic complement. In this case, the T in the actual image tells me that we're talking about a female. Um, but the translation for that particular bird is great. So this is weird if I were to write these symbols together. And then we have the suit plant, which is again a plant that grows up south and is transliterated with the letters SWT. All right, so now in class we will look at this image again and maybe do some attempt at interpreting what we see. Um, we're going to focus in class probably on the column that starts with the jetty, jetty in uh, a set, and then the images above her head, which is Wert, Hent, Taui, and that's probably all we'll do in class. Even though if there's time and there are questions, we'll probably look at some more of those because I can identify the name of Usir, Netcher, Ah, which is a great Netcher on the right behind her head. And we also will talk about the fact of the language, uh, the letters going from right to left. Um, for the image behind her and right to left for the image in front of her, but they go left to right in front of her. But that would be all we would do because I'm certain with a lot of questions, my 90 minutes will probably be up as it was last week. And for homework, I would offer them the opportunity to transliterate these canoes, and we would talk about it the following week. Again, I appreciate if you are following this strange presentation that I'm doing. I only say it's strange because I'm really preparing for a in live class, and last time I overdid it with my preparation, and so I only got through about a third of my prepared lesson. So I'm shortening it this time because I know there will be lots of questions. And again, it just works better when we're in person, I'm sorry, It gives me a chance to think harder about what I'm doing. But I will say Shemhotep, and you know, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them.